Well, good morning. The tile in my shower is almost done. It's taken a lot longer than I expected to do this to my tile. I'm going to show you how I cut the tile around these other little hexagon tiles. Just to show you guys, and maybe the techniques I use can help you figure out something else. But this process was very laborious. It's just taken a lot longer to do this than I anticipated. But it looks really cool. And I'm going to continue it around. But let me show you what I did to do this. Pretty sure I explained most of my tile process in my last tile video. But I didn't explain the cutting. So just to recap, how I laid this tile was I also got this pattern going on the bottom. So I found the lowest point where I can have a straight row of tiles without needing to notch them. And I just tacked a little strip in a couple places, not very much, and then with some little nails. And then when I took them off, I siliconed the nail holes. But I put those strips on all the way around so all my tiles will line up in a nice straight row. And then from there I went as high as I could with the silicone, and then I started cutting. So what I got here is a real thin piece of plastic of some sort. I don't know. It's pretty rigid. It's got a little bit of rigidity. Easy to cut with some scissors. And what I did was I just cut them the same size as my teal tiles. And by doing that, I can hold this up, and because it's transparent, I can see my little hexagon tiles underneath it. And I'll go in and just trace around my hexagon tiles. Just like that. If you could see it. Now I just cut this out with some scissors. Just like that. And then I take my tile, put it on there, and then trace this on my tile. Like so. And it's not perfect, but I've done it enough times to kind of have a muscle memory of how to cut them out good enough. But I was using a Sharpie, and then I lost my Sharpie, and then I'm just using this kind of a India ink type of thing, but it draws on here pretty well. Now we go and cut it out. So how I was cutting these out initially was by dremeling out with a little Dremel with a tile cutting bit. But then I found this little Prowler tile cutter. It's a mini cutter, has like a 4.5 inch blade, perfect for these size tiles, and this thing was like $70. So I went ahead and invested in it, and it does a lot better at cutting the tile than the Dremel does. It's a lot quicker, and it is a wet saw, so it splatters water everywhere. When I took that little guard off, there was a guard that's supposed to prevent the water splatter, I guess, but I wasn't able to see what I was doing. And this thing, I haven't had any kickback or anything, so I could cut the tile basically like running my fingers alongside the blade. I don't recommend it, but just get used to working with it, and you'll figure out your own safety. But these are all my little bits I've done so far, and it's worked great. You just got to fill it up with some water. I got to put a little more in there. But I took off my shirt and I wrapped a towel around me just because that water splatters all over the place. And get yourself some safety goggles if you invest in your little tile cutter. Because it does kick back some micro tile porcelain shavings. So I'll wrap my towel around me and just cover my arms when I'm cutting it too, because I would get like a whole lot of little blue splinters all over me. And just like that. Snug little fit. And that black grout will do a good job at hiding any imperfections, but I did try to make kind of like a 1/16 inch gap all the way around just to keep that spacing that's everywhere. But that's how I cut my tiles. And now I'll just do that for everywhere else. Here is the silicone I'm using, Dynaflex Ultra Black, just so if any oozes out from the sides, you're not going to really tell with the black grout going in. But it's just what I'm using just to attach the tile. And I'm using the silicone because mortar, not only does it dry pretty quick, and this is kind of a time-consuming process going in and doing the template and then cutting out each of the tiles. Silicone also, expands and stretches, so it's good in a van to put on your tile with some liquid nails or some silicone, just so the tiles don't come popping off with that mortar when it dries. I found for what I'm doing that the silicone works perfectly well and it holds very good, especially when I go back in and then grout it. It kind of ties everything together and just holds it real tight. So far, no cracks. So I'm just going to continue on working on doing my tile, and I'll get back to you when I'm done with that. There it is. All the teal tile all finished up. There's some places that I got to go back in and fill in the little hexagon tiles. And then I would be ready to grout the interior. So on these edges, I just siliconed the hexagon tiles to the corner, and they overhang a little bit. So I'll just go back in with an angle grinder and cut those off straight. I cut off the teal tiles straight and then down there straight, and then I'll go back in with my little edge banding just to clean up that edge, and then I'll put tile in that little strip, and that'll be my last strip that gets tiled. This is it, the very last tile. I feel like this is taking forever, but check it out. There it is, all tiled up. Still gotta grout it and silicone all my edges. And I'm going to use this. This is actually a grout silicone, or a silicone that is the color of the grout I'm using. So I could just use black silicone, but that one is specifically for the grout color that I picked, which is like a charcoal grout. But now the whole shower, I already grouted the floor, but now the rest of it is ready to be grouted. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my shower tile, all finished up. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, or at least I've been waiting for, is I'm going to install my Nautilus shower door. So I made this little curb a little too tall. That much too tall, actually, about that. Even though I measured and cut everything to fit this dimension of my shower door, it was still too tall. So, I mean, it was a pretty simple fix. All I had to do was just pop this off with a screwdriver, and I just like kind of wiggled it, and everything stayed intact, which was kind of cool. And then it just popped off, and then I cut the tiles down to that thickness that I need, and then just put that back on as a little cap. And I'll have to go back in with some more grout probably when I fill this in, just to fill in all the little voids that I have. But I made it just thick enough for my shower door to fit on there. And this will run on a little track, and it is a pretty straightforward process. See, I got my left side in right now, which actually holds the door. I haven't taken the sticky side off. Here's the other side. It's just a sticky, like 3M tape, double-sided tape that I'll peel off and just stick in place. And then it came with some tracks that you then cut to fit in whatever, spacing you have. And it says specifically to cut the bottom and the top one separately with their own dimensions. So let's go ahead and stick this side on. And I'm going to use my edging as a point of reference just to put that shower door into, so I'll have a nice little seam to caulk when I put this back on. And I'll line up the other side with this edging right here, and that'll give me a nice little reveal all the way around. So let's take off the sticky tape. All right, same process on the other side. Took off the tape, line it up with my little edging. All right, once those are stuck down, next thing we do is measure from this flat point to this flat point, and we subtract 1/4 inch, and that'll be the rail measurement. That's what you cut it to, whatever that is, minus 1/4 inch. And then the top and the bottom are separate from each other. Don't cut them the same. If they end up being the same, cut them the same, but measure the top and the bottom separately and cut them to whatever width it ends up being. So this wall is a little wonky, as you can tell at the bottom. So I'm going to try to cut the bottom one a little bit longer, just to kind of push in that bottom. All right, when you got it all cut, it slips into that little track, into that little holder right there. I'm going to need to push it with 2 hands. And then on this side, you got these little clips which slide into that little plastic piece, and it just clips into place. And this is where your -1/4 inch comes into play. It just slips onto there, slides into that, and clips into place. And there's your top rail. Alright, I went ahead and did my bottom rail. And what I noticed is the instructions really do tell you to draw a line from this to this so you can get a straight edge. And I should have done that, because this, when it was lined up with this edge, as you can see, there's about a 1/2 inch in front of this one, so my rod was going in at an angle. But I made it so I got even reveal of tile. I moved it. But now I got a tiny little sliver of tile that's showing on this side. And the last step, as far as installing the shower door goes, you got to put on these little screws that just tap into the back. There's some holes, pre-drilled holes, and this will just self-tap into your rod just to hold everything nice and tight, close together. And well, after I screwed them in, for some reason the shower door wasn't staying shut. So I just took them out, and I think the caulk will be plenty strong to hold them. But anyway, that is how you install a Nautilus shower door. And I think because the bottom is longer than the top, or shorter than the top, it's creating a little crease in the door. But since the shower, because it's on the inside of the shower, all the water dripping off of it will fall onto my shower floor. So there's no issues there. That's my fault. If they were the same measurement, I'm sure it'll be taut and nice. But I think it's still pretty nice. Very easy install. Lets in light when I'm on the inside of it. And it will do the job of keeping the water out of the rest of the van. And the little latch, pretty simple. All it is a little push to fit, push to close. Let's go on the inside and show you. There's no handle on the inside. It's just a little ledge. And it latches pretty good. And as you can see, there'll be no issue with water going anywhere other than this drain. Very simple. And there's a little squeegee on the inside of this door that will get all the water off as it's closing, which is pretty neat. And one more issue that was my fault that I ran into was my ceiling drooped a little in the middle. So when I was closing it, this top, whatever this thing is, this top piece was hitting the tile. So I just stuck a little PVC wedge in there that'll be hidden when I caulk it. But now I have room to slide it. And there I have it all caulked up. I think I might put a little black trim piece right there just to cover up that tile. It kind of bothers me. But when my ceiling goes in, it'll go right to that little edge and it'll hide all that. But there we go. Nautilus shower door install and finishing up the tile. Well, I think that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.